This is a quick spoiler warning for Astro's Playroom on the PS5. If you haven't played this game and you want to experience it just as I did, turn off this video now. You have been warned. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Egg Hunt, the show where we take a look at the Easter eggs and references hidden in all our lovely favourite video games. And today's episode we're looking at the new Astro's Playroom. Now this game was pretty much created to show off the DualSense controller, beautifully if I say so myself, and the fun thing is this game takes place inside of the actual PS5. You can actually see we're actually inside of the case. Now, inside of each level, we'll come across a bot filming two other bots or more recreating a scene from a game. So that's going to be the main thing we're going to be going through in this video. However, there's a few more things to look out for as we go along. Every one of the levels is actually a focus on each part of the hardware. So for instance, the first level we're looking at is Memory Meadows, which is exploration into, I guess, the RAM of the PS5. Straight away we come into a level completely populated by these blue and yellow flowers. They're actually references to forget-me-nots. And speaking of flowers, we have a bot here controlling a bunch of petals, which is a reference to the 2008 game Flower by the same developers as Journey. In this game, you pretty much, I guess, controlled the wind and unlocked flowers. It's pretty cute. The next one we come up seems to be a bot hiding in a tree from another bot with a net. Well, yep, this is definitely a reference to Ape Escape, the popular game on the PlayStation. Trudging through some mud, we come across a bot that is it a skeleton bot with a sword? Well, come on, this has got to be medieval. A nice little reference to also using old memory cards as gravestones. I like it. And back in some more mud, we have a more recent game. There's a bot who seems to be struggling carrying lots of data. Well, this has got to be Death Stranding, right? The detail on this one is actually quite fun. We've got the data, we've got him struggling and collapsing just like he does, and there's also a little robot BB as well. I love it, it's brilliant. Later on we jump onto a bounce pad and we come up into a windy terrain and we have a bot that has a letter in his head. Well, this is clearly a reference to Terrain, Media Molecule's second game after the Big Planet. This was later ported to the PS4 in Terrain Unfolded. Found a little couch to sit on and look at our next reference, which is of the game Ico, which is created by the studio that also brought us Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian, which we will see later on. Then we come across a bot toting a PSVR headset playing golf. Well, this must be everybody's golf VR. Play the demo, the caddy was a bit weird and creeped me out, so I just left it at that. Just want to pull attention to something as simple as these trees. The stump and trunk are actually part of the original controller's wire. Brilliant! A little further on we see a boss from Astro's last game all greyed out with another bot tickling it with a feather. So I think it's safe to say this is a reference to The Last Guardian, a game which has similar situations, and the second one from the same studio as Ico. We next find a bot on the ground with a piece of origami on his belly, a clear reference to the origami killer from Heavy Rain. Also, take note of the rain splashes on the ground. We then have these little mechanical references spewed out in the game, and this is a nice open button which is taken straight from that of the PlayStation 1. I thought it was pretty cool. We then come into a lovely purpley pink field of grass, and there's a couple of bots playing baseball, and I can only think of one game, that is MLB The Show, that came to the PlayStation 2. Rolling on, we see something strange in the distance. It looks like a rocket-powered rabbit. Well, I didn't know what this one was, but my friend Mellow Gaming let me know that this was a game on the PS1 called Jumping Flash, in which you controlled a robotic rabbit that, I guess, jumped around looking for carrots. Yeah, like I said, I missed out on this one. Didn't play this as a kid. Let's move on. We then come across a couple of bots booging out and listening to the PlayStation 1's music player. Now up in the clouds, we come across a bot controlling what looks like a jet. I wondered, could this be from Ace Combat, but the patterns looked a bit too loud for that game. But no, I was reassured this actually was from Ace Combat, or in Japan, also known as Air Combat. A more current game from 2020 is Ghost of Tsushima, where we see our friend whose name I don't know because I haven't played this game, but I want to. Also, it turns out that Astro's world has 2 suns. Didn't think I was supposed to see that. We then come across a bot skating on electricity wires. Well, there's got to be Infamous, in which we can see our main protagonist from that game doing the exact same thing. Next up, we have a scared bot with a light and a ghost behind him. Well, this has to be Forbidden Siren, in which the exact same thing happens in that game. Spooky stuff. We then have the appearance of Big Brother from the game Astrobot Rescue Mission. Great game, check it out if you have a PSVR. Rounding off the level, we come across a pocket station with 2 cats either side. Well, this is from the game Doko Demo Isu, with the characters Kuro and Toro. This is a strange little thing that only Japan had. Very odd indeed, don't really know where to go with this. Yeah, Crash Bandicoot was on it, I guess? Coming around the corner, we then come across 3 bots playing a game called Bot Racer, with a title screen that is a pretty much accurate representation of that of Ridge Racer, a game that helped launch the PlayStation 1 into popularity. Let's move on to the second level, which focuses on the PlayStation 5's very fast SSD. And the first reference we come across is that a bot in a blonde wig with an apple? Well, yeah, this is Gravity Rush. That was a game that was original to the PS Vita that had a sequel on the PS4. Stupid apples. Get out of there. We can talk about iconic imagery with this next one, with the sword stuck in the ground with the light on, with a bunch of bots around it. Yeah, this is Cloud's weapon from Final Fantasy VII. Very popular game on the PS1. We then have this scene with a bot on a sling with the words pain. I guess this is a game called Pain. Yeah, it was on the PS3. We come across a rather scared bot looking at a seat. Oh! Is that Pyramid Head from Silent Hill 2? Wow, this is a pretty disturbing scene. And then we come across a bot that's dressed up as a Lombax. So this must be Ratchet and Clank. Brilliant. Original PlayStation 2 game that is still going. We then come across a bunch of Hellghast holding aim controllers, the enemy soldiers from the game Killzone. We then have 2 bots shivering, looking at a skull with a hat on. This is the iconic imagery, that of Resistance Fall of Man, a release title for the PS3. Further down we go, we come across a bot walking on what looks like a tightrope with some shapes in. Well, this is actually the same kind of gameplay you could find in Vib Ribbon, a very strange game from Japan on the PlayStation 1. We then find ourselves surrounded by spiders from Astro's rescue mission, along with the bot hanging from a web. Well, this must be a reference to Marvel's Spider-Man that came out in 2018. Wow, does not feel like 2 years ago. We then come across a site with a bunch of bots on display. Well, this must be a reference to Detroit Become Human, a world in which robots are sold for labor. We then hop over to a film reference in which you can see a bot on a treadmill whilst it rotates around them, which is very similar to the one in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, I might need a bit of help on this one. We can see 2 bots playing a game called Bot Fighter. This could be Street Fighter, but I didn't think the logo matched it. We then find ourselves watching a chap with white hair shooting a clown in the sky. Well, that to me looks like Dante from Devil May Cry. Never played this game that much, but know enough to know what it is. Now let's talk about a game I know a lot about and we come across a bot with a zipper sitting on a world. Well, this is clearly Little Big Planet. This imagery of Sackboy sitting on the world could be found in a lot of advertisement around the time the game came out. We then find a bunch of crafts flying around an asteroid. Well, this is a reference to Wipeout, the futuristic racing game that was very popular on the PS1. Had a great VR rendition on the PSVR. And speaking of VR, we come across a bot in VR with an aim controller. Now this can be one of 2 games, but I'm pretty sure it's Farpoint due to the frantic nature of how he moves, as Farpoint is set on a planet covered in spiders. Terrifying stuff. Doing our very best impression of Infamous, we come across a spaceship made out of cubes. Now this is a reference to a very early PS4 game called Resogun, in which you could create your own ship designed based on pixels. Walking along a PlayStation-infused bridge, we come across two bots playing a game on the PS2. Well, to me that looks like the God of War menu. Perfectly renamed Bot of War. Now let's start our third adventure into the third level of the game, where we jump into the console's GPU, my favourite of the four levels. This level really shows off the real-time light rendering thanks to the ability that is ray tracing. So thank you, Ray Tracing. I sing like someone's name. Thanks, Ray! Now our first reference of the level, well, we come across four bots around a campfire, all playing on their PSPs. Well, due to their weapons, this must be a reference to Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, the first Monster Hunter game to come out. Is that a crate of Wumpa fruit, I hear you ask? Well, yes, it is. And this little diorama goes so clearly obviously that it is Crash Bandicoot that we don't even need the lower third. But there it is. We don't need the reference either. But there it is anyway. So, yeah, enjoy it. A little walk through the grass and we find ourselves looking at a red-haired woman with a bow and arrow. Well, this is definitely a reference to Horizon Zero Dawn. We then find a strange little thing creating what looks like a T-Rex made of cubes. Well, this has to be Media Molecule's other game, Dreams. Now, interestingly, they chose a T-Rex to create. Remember, a T-Rex. We'll be referencing that later. Now, another thing I want to point out is how well this game uses pieces of hardware as level elements. Here we have disc trays as platforms you can bounce to. There's a little rope we can walk across, but it's actually a PlayStation 1 controller input. And over here, we have a couple of platforms that come out of the walls, and they're the back triggers from the PS4 controller. Love this kind of stuff. Now, I might be going a bit too deep into this, but there's these little pine cones you can hit that give it a shaking sound effect. Now, in one of the levels in Astro's rescue mission, there was a piece of music similar to one you're hearing, but had little shakes in the back of it. I don't know, what do you think? Am I going crazy? Going back to dioramas, we come across the Hunter from Bloodborne, giving the grass a little bit of a trim. It's very nice of him. Now, as we stumble into this cave, we find a coffin. And if we knock on that cave, we come across a vampire who pops up. Now, we're pretty sure, me and Mellow Gaming, that this is Alucard from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Interesting thing about his name, I didn't realise this, but Alucard is just Dracula backwards. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, he's Dracula's son, so we thought that's probably who it is. The other thing you can find in these caves are lyrics. Now, lyrics to what? Well, interestingly, throughout this level, well, the piece of music you've heard in the background, there is someone singing, and it's actually the PlayStation 5's GPU. He's singing all about the beautiful rendering he can do to make your games look beautiful. Now, as we go into the caves, we've come across Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us. This kind of framing is a reference to one of the first pieces of media we saw out of The Last of Us. I also like how far this reference goes to their rendition of clickers. It's fantastic. Also, the second Naughty Dog game in this level so far. As we go across another controller, there's a crashed plane and someone hanging off a cliff. Are those yellow brackets he's hanging off of? Well, this must be Nathan Drake, so this is clearly a reference to Uncharted: Drake's Fortune. Now, I originally got this next one wrong, but thankfully my friend Mellow Gaming helped me out. This is actually from the game called Patapon on the PSP, in which you helped a bunch of tribespeople beat up other things, I guess. I haven't played that one. And then we come across a guy on a motorbike by a bunch of scary zombie-like robots. Well, this has to be Days Gone, the redneck version of Last of Us. This game caught people's eye due to its physics engine and how many zombies you could have on screen at one time. Amazing stuff. Now, this next one I actually almost missed and caught it on my third playthrough. This is a reference to Soul Reaver, a game written by Amy Hennig, who also wrote Uncharted. Another big thanks to Mellow Gaming, as I had never heard of this game before. Now, here's another little fun level detail. I noticed this rope bridge was created out of the second version of the PlayStation 4 camera. And a little later, we find these kind of totem things that are actually the first version of the PlayStation 4 camera. I like it. Team Asobi then give themselves their own reference with the Playroom. This was the first time we actually saw the bots. Here we can see them playing Ninja Bots, one of the fun mini-games, quite accurately represented with the controllers and the different colours. And just above these guys, we see a character from a very old series, Tomb Raider, which first debuted on the PlayStation back in 1996. Now this one, I took a while to get this one, but thanks to Mellow Gaming again, he pointed out that he thinks this was the maiden from Demon's Souls. Never played this game. Yeah. Moving on to a game I also never played, we find a robot with an electric gun and a mustache. This must be from the Order 1886, a game that was short-lived, literally. We then round off Team Ico's trilogy with a fantastic reference to Shadow of the Colossus, with Big Brother representing one of the Colossi. And now rounding off the Naughty Dog references, we have a bot with long ears with a rabbit on his head. Well, this must be a reference to Jak and Daxter on the PlayStation 2, a very well-loved series. We then have two people fighting. Okay, this is clearly Tekken, and so this is Jin Kazama and Hiyoshi Mishami fighting. I think I got that right. Oh god. Team Asobi get right back in with another reference to another one of their Playroom games, and this time it's the VR Playroom, where we can see the bots playing Monster Escape, one of my favourite mini-games inside of that pack. We then come across a bot who clearly must have mastered Journey because he's wearing the white coat that can only be found inside of Journey when you collect all of the artifacts. So, well done. We then make our way into the final level of the game, Cooling Springs, which focuses on the PlayStation 5's cooling system. Straight away, as we make our way to the level opening slide, we see a lovely little message from one of the bots. Cooling Springs is a lovely little spot where you can ride a dolphin, learn to surf with your other bot friends, and come across a couple of references. Now, this was the very first reference I ever saw in the original release trailer. This is clearly God of War, but the 2018 version, where he has a boy. Strolling down the beach, there's a big fat white balloon thing. Well, this is clearly a reference to Loco Roco, the really colourful game you could play on the PSP back in 2006. This was one of those games that I think everybody knew about, despite the majority of us not owning a PSP. Always wanted to check it out. Casually interrupting the surfing class, we see a bunch of PlayStation symbols floating off. As we get a bit closer, we see a bot colouring the wall with those PlayStation symbols. Now, this is a reference to Concrete Genie that came out at the end of 2019. Going down this dock, we come across a character that I only knew about thanks to PlayStation All-Stars. It's Fat Princess. She likes cakes. I don't know much about this one. There's just cakes everywhere. Cakes. Now, here's a deep reference that gets used in a lot of Playroom games. It's Dude Raider. This was the nickname given to Uncharted when it was first shown off at E3, before Naughty Dog even had a name for it. People just saw this dude in a jungle. It was like, well, this is Tomb Raider, but he's a dude. Now, apparently this reference is quite hard to see. Wait a second, there's someone in a box over there. Well, clearly it's Solid Snake. And this is Metal Gear Solid inside his box, complete with sound effect. I also like the little detail of Solid State sticker shoved onto the side of the box. As we come into an icy area, we come across a group of bots representing the cast of Until Dawn, the horror-like film game, which is pretty cool. There's a character with a beanie, she was in that game. There's also a butterfly, a nice reference to the butterfly effect style of the game. Now this next one's a fun one. We've got a scientist with the Umbrella Corp logo on him. Of course it's Resident Evil. We've got bots dressed up as Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield defending a zombie. This is great. Next up inside this fish tank, we have a bot with a VR helmet on playing PlayStation VR Worlds. It's clearly playing the Shark Encounter, also known as the rite of passage to any of my friends who want to play VR. Leapfrogging over to the next one, we have the Puppeteer, which was a game created by Japan Studios, as well as this game. It didn't do too well, but it was quite fun. Well, this brings us to the end of the references inside of these levels, so now's a good time to get a bit of a rest up before we go into the next phase. Clean yourself up. Oh, whoa, okay. That's a bit of an interesting place for a bot to clean. But we've got a few more references to go. There's this one here, which originally I was a bit confused by because, well, every time he got close, he just ran into the safe. But he grabbed something. And that stuff that he grabs is the thing that led me on to believe that this is Sly Cooper from the games from the series called Sly Cooper. I never played them. Swimming around the duck-infested pool waters, we come across two cardboard cutouts. Now, one is clearly Parappa the Rapper, and the other is Jamalama, the lesser-known spiritual sequel. Now, whilst Astro was sleeping, I noticed one more thing in this level. This fountain is just a super slimline PS3. Right, now let's move on to the last part of the game. That is PlayStation LABO, that takes place inside of a PlayStation 1. Here is where all the PlayStation artifacts that you collect through the game are stored. And with that are a few more references. Here's all the alternative bot versions of the portable games. And an interesting what if Astro Bot was a PlayStation 1 game. And to finish off these Astro Easter eggs, if you go over to the PlayStation VR and give it a knock, you can watch the trailer for Astro's rescue mission on the PSVR. Very nice. Before we get back to some game references, how about a corporation changing its name Easter egg? Now this bot is clearly playing iToy Play, and I think he's definitely playing the Kung Fu level. One of the best ones of the pack. We then switch over to the PlayStation Move, and I think this guy's playing Sports Champion, the level which you can use a shielded sword to block and swipe. And finally we have the sneakiest reference, with this bot is in VR and he's definitely playing Beat Saber. Look at those moves. Now I mentioned before that Ridge Racer did have 2 dioramas, and well yeah, this is clearly Ridge Racer, that's the car from Ridge Racer. This next one's quite hard to figure out, but I'm pretty sure it's from a niche game called Spyro the Dragon. I don't know, maybe that dragon was a bit more blue, this is a bit more purple. Yeah, you don't need a reference for this. Right, so throughout this game we have seen loads and loads of ducks, and I think this is a reference to Super Rubber Duck. However, the PlayStation 3 and PS2 as well had these tech demos that just included ducks. Here we have a bot clearly playing on a dance mat of Dance Dance Revolution. We had one of these growing up, it was great fun. This isn't a reference to anything, I just thought the bot trying to spin with the X symbol was fun. Bless him. Right, so I know how we talked about subtle references with the Beat Saber one, but this guy's throwing a boomerang, and it wasn't until I got a close-up look that I realised that's the Boomerang PS3 controller. We then have the PlayStation Home logo. This was Sony's short-lived attempt at a social game. Now, I could not get this one for the life of me, but Mellow Gaming suggested that it was Beyond Two Souls, and yeah, it is. We've had the developers 2 other games, so why wouldn't this one appear? Little orb thing's a brother, right? Is that a spoiler? Now, I see 2 Move controllers and Sackboy, so I'm guessing this is Sackboy's prehistoric Move. Let me know if you think it's something else. This one's kind of sad. Japan Studios made Knack, and it didn't do too well, and now this bot can't put the pieces together. So this guy's working on an analog stick, and he's got a VR headset on. Could this be a little teaser for the next generation of Move controllers? Right, moving on from that conspiracy theory, we have this one, which is, well, when you've completely voided the machine of all its balls and the prize they're in, you get these fireworks. Now, Mellow Gaming thought this could be a nod to Fantavision. This was a game on the PS2 that made you shoot fireworks with kind of the PlayStation symbols. I don't know, what do you think? Now, you remember that T-Rex that was being created in Dreams? Well, here it is again. This is actually a reference to a tech demo dinosaur that appeared on the first demo disc. Well, he wasn't alone because there was a Manta Ray tech demo disc, and he's in a tank just next to him. These are very nice details. And the last Easter egg in this room is the alternative PlayStation logos. Yeah, these were the alternative ones that they didn't choose. The chosen logo now happily plastered onto this bot's face. We now come to the final Easter egg of this whole game, and I'm putting in a major spoiler here because if you still want to play this game and complete it 100%, then this is something you will not want to get spoiled. So, this is your final spoiler warning. Alright, let's go. As you go to the basement of the main hub level, there is a room that slowly unlocks when you complete each level. Going into that room, we find a PlayStation 1 with Ken Kutaragi's memory card inserted. He was the creator of the PlayStation. With Demo Disc 1 playing, we go up a stairs made of memory cards and we face the flippin' tech dino. Oh my goodness. And the coolest thing, when he shoots out enemies that are in low polyform. Love it. So there we go. I hope that's been entertaining enough. It took a little while to find all these hidden little details in Astro Bot. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this game so far. My favourite game on the PS5. Let me know if you think I missed anything. I would love to know. But until then, keep your eyes open for any more eggs. And I'll see you next time under the moons. See you later.